Cyberpunk Edgerunners is absolutely amazing. Go watch it now. What an absolute embodiment of the style and creativity of the cyberpunk world, just encapsulated in an amazing joyride of ups and downs, great character, amazing animation that Trigger has mostly always been known to deliver on. But yes, I just got done with the 10-episode series that is now available on Netflix, and this is my review of the series, so let's jump right into it. Cyberpunk Edgerunners opens up in Night City, this place that is filled with people obsessed with cyberware. We follow a boy named David, who is kind of known as a street rat. He kind of lives in the slum areas of the town. But thanks to the hard efforts of his mother, he's being currently enrolled into the Arasaka Academy, in hopes that one day he'll have such good grades that he'll actually land a really good job and kind of pull him out of poverty that he's living in. But unfortunately for him, similarly to his mother, he faces a lot of discrimination due to the fact that he's a street rat. He's always looked down upon by all of his classmates. They're all living the high life in Night City, whereas David, again, is a street rat. But after David and his mother is involved in the car accident, it kind of forces him to become an edge runner. After coming across this military-grade speedware, he has it installed and joins a band of edge runners led by a guy named Maine. Maine was actually planning on taking the speedware from David. It was something that he was supposed to acquire. But due to the fact that David is able to kind of manage the side effects that come from the speedware, typically people will go quickly into some sort of psychosis, they instead kind of bring him into the group and see what he's capable of. So David joins this group and they go out and do different missions, all being kind of requested by different companies in the area. This area is pretty much led by the corporations that lead it, these big main heads that are all kind of competing against each other. You get hints that in the past there was like an entire corporate war that was happening, an actual war. A lot of these jobs come from fixers. It really does feel like over time as David is working with this group, he does get to meet all these members of the team. You have Lucy, who's a net walker, who's very mysterious. She's kind of technically the one that roped David into the group by basically turning him in because she knew that he had this speedware. And the two of them form a really interesting, solid relationship. Obviously, Lucy having this very mysterious nature to herself, but additionally, the fact that she kind of showed David a vulnerable side of herself. The side that wants to get out of Night City, wants to go to the moon, and over time you'll get a sense of exactly why that is. Maine is, of course, pretty much the big father of the team, the big teddy bear, the guy that's really big, muscular, but at the same time, he knows how to bring somebody under his wing. He has a soft side of himself that's very protective. You have Kiwi, who's another kind of hacker similar to Lucy. You have the gun-ho Rebecca and her crazy brother. It's just a really interesting little group that they have. But unfortunately, this doesn't last very long as it gets further and further into the story and just things get crazier and crazier, and this group kind of gets pulled into this kind of corporate battle that's happening. The desire for the latest cybernetics, and additionally, technically what David himself is currently wearing. And as the stakes get higher and higher, they start to introduce this concept of how much of yourself you're willing to give. Power is always available. It just all depends on how much you're willing to spend and how much of your body you're willing to give up to cybernetics. But additionally, the use of that cybernetics and how much it affects the mind is easily one of the more core aspects of the story. How far are you willing to go and how much of yourself you're willing to risk? So my thoughts on Cyberpunk Edgerunners. This series is absolutely fantastic. I had so much fun watching it. And I think that's really in a mixture of really fantastic characters, the really awesome chemistry that you have with the characters, the bonds they form that feel very natural and at the same time really enjoyable to watch. The hardships they face, but additionally, how far they're willing to go in order to win. Add into that, Trigger doing a phenomenal job of really capturing the essence of cyberpunk. It's kind of the same feeling that I got when they first announced Cyberpunk 2077. I was like, this is cyberpunk. This is what I was looking for. Now, unfortunately, that launch didn't work out, and I never did go out and actually check it out, even if it has been patched and fixed. This was that same feeling, that feeling that I had when I was younger and I got into the original cyberpunk, and I was just captivated by this really interesting world. The same feeling that I had when I watched Ghost in the Shell and was completely captivated by that world. It's this near future that feels believable at the same time feels disgusting in a way. People giving up everything of themselves, giving up their humanity for that next fix, that next upgrade that'll make them even more powerful, but obviously the risks and the downfall of mankind that comes with that. Watching David walk these streets and seeing just kind of the most disgusting thing in the background, just people just enjoying themselves in all these different ways, but at the same time, all seemingly suffering. There's obviously a hierarchy system in this world itself, and I think they captured both the disgusting side, but also the corporate side of it very well. Additionally, throwing in the interesting aspects of the cybernetic world, like insurance that you have to have, and having these first responders coming in, checking your insurance and going, no policy, later. It's that kind of feeling that I get from the series that was definitely pulled off by Trigger. And yes, that style, the colors, the animation, everything just pops. But additionally, and I plead to studios, day and night, and thankfully Trigger did this here, a phenomenal soundtrack that just manages to take every single scene up to another level. Vocal tracks and stuff that really do make each scene so memorable. You feel the emotion the characters are going through, the longing that they have, the tragedies they're facing, the fun they're having. All that stuff was so encapsulated in the soundtrack, and I give them huge props for that. But additionally, like I said earlier, the main key thing here, and the thing I think makes this series work so well, yes, the overall plot line was solid. It's a great driving force for the characters. It's sort of the story about getting yourself in over your head, but I think at its core was the characters. Night City is a character in itself. The world of Cyberpunk is a character in itself. It is the driving force. It is the story, but it's the people that are within it that is a story to be told. And I think they pulled that off very well. Yes, it's a boy going through terrible stuff, having a leg up in life, but at the same time deciding to step away from the normal life, the life that his mother wanted for him, and going into, yes, essentially becoming a Yakuza, becoming a gang member. But I think it did so well in kind of pulling this innocent boy into a more violent world itself, but at the same time having this group of friends, while yes, they don't trust each other entirely, they're all out for gain, they're all out for money, but when push comes to shove, they have each other's back. And I think they managed to pull off that chemistry so well. The writing was just solid. I believed these characters. I felt like I was there hanging out with these guys, watching them go to their jobs, nearly losing their lives, but going back to their place just to celebrate that they won and they got through the situation, they got paid. But not only that, but injecting the hardships of the world itself. Specifically, one thing that I really like how they portrayed was the aspect of the psychosis and the over-reliance on the cyberware itself. Again, like I said, power is only a paycheck away. That next piece of gear that gives you that leg up from your opponent. But additionally, the side effect that comes from that. The idea of somebody losing themselves. And I think it pulled that off really well. One minute, somebody's seeing a vision of their past. The next moment, they're standing face to face with their friend with a gun in their face. The way they pulled that off, the transitions they did with that was really incredible. One specific part, and it's not really spoilers, is a segment where this character is walking down a street. It's an empty street. A street that typically is full of either trash or vehicles, and as he stands there in the quiet, suddenly a car runs right through him, and instantaneously it snaps back to the current time where they're being chased down the road. That transition was so cool, because it shows the character slowly slipping in and out of consciousness, into a dream state, into their memories, and back into their current consciousness. And they did this several times, and I loved how it was portrayed. And additionally, having almost that jittery feeling the characters can't really get a sense of balance, get a center of themselves. And so they're constantly seeing this face kind of jittering around. It was really, really cool. Now, the big question mark is, hey Andrew, this is on Netflix. Does it have a cliffhanger? Does it have a Netflix cliffhanger that they always love to do? Thankfully, no. Thankfully, as I was getting closer and closer to episode 10, I was dreading that we were going to get that typical Netflix cliffhanger, and thankfully, it did not have it. Now, yes, there's plenty of room. Again, technically, Night City is the main character of any cyberpunk story. So yes, they could technically do another series, and I would gladly open my doors to it because, again, this was such a fun ride, and I would love to get more of Trigger's portrayal of the cyberpunk world. Now, I've been gushing and gushing and gushing. I will give one negative. About all I can give you is one negative to the series. I thought episode 10 was extremely rushed. It almost felt as if this series should have had 12 episodes because it really did feel like they packed some really emotional and really climactic stuff in that 10th episode, and it just transitioned from scene to scene so quickly, I felt very jarred. Like I didn't get enough time to really sit in the situation, and a lot of really incredible stuff happens in episode 10 that I didn't feel had enough time to really kind of have the characters reflect on it. This is the conclusion of a really amazing story with some really amazing characters, and I felt like none of it was really reflected on. And I feel like that's the only downer I can give this series. But that's a good thing because it's not that much of a downer. I wasn't mad in the end. Yes, I would have loved them to have explored those ideas a little bit more, but still, in the end, I was happy. It was a very, while painful at times, A very satisfying ending. My hat's off to Studio Trigger. Again, they managed to really capture the style and the aesthetic of the cyberpunk world. While yes, technically on around episode 9, getting a little bit too Trigger. Yes, we have a Trigger moment in episode 9, and it's a Trigger moment, but even still, I loved this show to death. I love the characters. I thought the story was fantastic, and just the chemistry and the world, the aesthetic, and the music. The music's so good. The music is so good. I highly recommend anybody, especially if you're a Trigger fan, if you're a fan of cyberpunk, the aesthetic of cyberpunk and futuristic worlds. Just keep in mind, yes, there's a lot of nudity and there's a lot of violence, a lot of graphical violence in this show. They hold nothing back. This is a very mature show. It is a fun world, it is a brutal world, and it holds nothing back. And I love it for that. But if you're okay with that, I definitely highly suggest checking out Cyberpunk Edgerunners. It is a must-watch. It was a fun ride, and I hope, again, please Trigger, do more of this world. I love it to death, and I will eat up every minute of it. It almost makes me want to go back and try cdprojectred's Cyberpunk, but we'll see. Anyways, that's my thoughts and my review of Cyberpunk Edgerunner. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment, let me know what you thought of the series if you're going to be checking it out. Additionally, if you're new to this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top lists. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, I would greatly appreciate if you consider supporting us on Patreon, our tips link, or our super thanks button down below. I greatly appreciate everybody that does, and y'all take care.